Hello everyone, my name is Philip. I'm the casual cat dad, casual as in casual gamer, cat dad that is a very proud cat dad. As Resident Evil 9 Requiem is closely approaching and we're gonna get a new protagonist in Grace Ashcroft, I wanted to take a look back at the other protagonists we had in the numbered main line of the Resident Evil series, excluding Resident Evil Zeros, and actually rank them. Even though I think Grace looks so far interesting, I think Capcom has had a couple of, as we're gonna discuss soon, characters that are, in my opinion, wasted. So let's begin. Number 11 is Ethan Winters. I'm probably gonna get hate for this, and honestly I don't really care because for me he was just boring. I couldn't vibe with him at all. Searching for Rose was interesting, but he was surrounded by such grandiose characters that he never stood up. I know that he was supposed to be an insert for us, for players, kinda, but at the same time, I wasn't really feeling him. I'm sorry, Ethan fans, but for me, he's dead last, even though he appears in more games than some of the people that are higher than him on this list. He just is extremely boring for me, and besides Searching for Rose, I haven't felt anything when it comes to his character. Number 10, Pierce. Well, I guess he is number 10 just because I want Chris to have a love interest. I mean, he is a playable character in Resident Evil 10. A 10. He only had 9. Sorry. In Resident Evil 6, alongside Chris' campaign, and I think he plays off of Chris. His story is... He has a story. I don't really remember, but I remember him being kinda cute, so that's why he is at number 10. Number 9, Jake Mueller. Okay, Jake is interesting, and he should have been higher if he wasn't so superhero generic. Action hero generic, sorry. And we already have that in Chris. And Chris, I think, has been shoved down players' throats more than any other Resident Evil character. So that's why he's so low on the list. But Jake is, in my opinion, extremely interesting, and I loved, even though Resident Evil 6 is a terrible game, I loved how his and Sherry's relationship develops throughout the game. So definitely not a bad character, kinda wasted, because I think they could have done much more if they went into the action side of Resident Evil. They could have done a lot more with his character. Number 8, another Resident Evil 6 entry. There's going to be quite a lot of them because there's quite a lot of playable characters there. Is Helena Harper. Now, I don't know why Capcom keeps introducing very cool female characters and then does nothing with them after. Helena for me was very interesting. I love playing as her. I think her story was interesting, and I think she had future potential because she would like to try to wrong her doings. Spoiler alert for those who haven't played Resident Evil 6. She's kinda responsible for the outbreak. Number 7. Again, just like Jake Mueller, his companion Sherry Birkin, who we get to see in Resident Evil 2 and then in Resident Evil 6, in my opinion, is the perfect protagonist to carry over. Nothing against Grace. From all the trailers and everything I've seen so far, I'm extremely excited to play as her. But Sherry exists. People remember, she exists, and she even has a cool healing power that can be cool to the mechanic and tied to the mechanic. She also has G antibodies inside her, and she has a potential for the story. But Capcom just didn't use her after Resident Evil 6 at all. Number 6 is Sheva Alomar. Now, Sheva's story is kinda confined to Resident Evil 5. She's a bad AI, very bad AI, but I found her very fun. So I think that Capcom could have introduced her more later down the line, or maybe even have her in some spin-off games, or have her even in Resident Evil 6 as Chris' partner, because Pierce came out of nowhere. When we had Jill and then Sheva, and Sheva was instrumental in killing Wesker, one of the bad guys for Resident Evil, if not the bad guy for Resident Evil. Actually, he's the bad guy for Resident Evil. Then again, Capcom did nothing for her. they keep introducing a lot of interesting female characters, like Helena, Sherry in the Resident Evil 6, and Shava in Resident Evil 5, and then do nothing with them. Number 5 is everyone's favorite, I'm joking, it's Chris. I mean, he's in almost every game. I just still don't know why. Out of the core 4 being Jill, Leon, Claire, and Chris, he's the least interesting to me. He's just an action hero. Wow. Interesting personality traits. Good job, Chris. I do kind of like him, but at the same time, I would prefer Leon, Jill, Claire of the core 4. I like to call them the core 4 over him, sadly. Number 4 is, thank God for Resident Evil 6, because in some ports you get this straight out of the back. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to talk about her. Is one of my favorite Resident Evil characters of all time, Ada Wong. I think she's the only female character in Resident Evil done right. She has consistently been mysterious and but she has been consistent, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding her, and that makes her interesting. And I would love to see an Ada game one day. Even if it's not a horror game, I would play that game. On her own, even without Leon, I think she's a very interesting character. With Leon, she's even better. Number 3 is, of course, Ada's puppy, Leon as Kennedy, and I think the fan favorite character of everyone on the globe when it comes to Resident Evil. Leon for me is on the 3rd place only because he has, even though personally he's not my favorite, I have to say this. However, I do appreciate his grind, and I do appreciate his character progression from Resident Evil 2 to Resident Evil 4. However, he stagnates after that, and I don't see him in 6 being any different than in Resident Evil 4. And also, actually, he's regressing. I get that the fact that in Resident Evil 4 he was close to President, so he was shocked when President turned to a zombie. But dude, in Resident Evil 9 trailer that we saw, you stood there while the girl was attacked. I mean, we don't know the full context yet. As of the time of the recording, the game is not out, but it's now just kind of overdue. I don't see that he developed that much post Resident Evil 4, which is sad because, once again, he has potential. Number 2 is one of the Leon's companions. I mean, when I say companions, it kind of sounds weird. Another playable character in the game he is Claire Redfield. I don't think Claire is wasted, because her story kind of starts and ends in 2. And after that, she's kind of there, but not really. However, I think she's one of the perfect protagonists because she is everything Ethan Winters wants to be. She has knowledge of combat, so she's not useless in the zombie fight. However, at the same time, she's just a civilian. She's a student, in fact. She's very young. So, in my opinion, she is probably the perfect Resident Evil protagonist when it comes to the scare factor. And I really love that she stayed and protected Sherry when she, of course, after she saw her parents. I mean, come on. I just really enjoyed playing as her in Resident Evil 2, especially in Resident Evil 2 Remake. Very interesting, very fun character, very refreshing even, because she kind of curses, she's a bit more brash, more emotional. It's not cool as collected as some other characters. She's, you know, more human. And I like that about her. I love that about her, actually. I love that about Leon as well in the second game, Resident Evil 2 Remake, when they kind of gave him this sort of a heroic scaredy cat personality. I like to call it like that, even though he's more heroic than scared. You can still kind of see the fear in the portrayal. So I love that about them, and I think that they could have done a bit more with her, with the Terra save. But still, I think she's one of the best protagonists in the game, simply because of the fact that she's everything Ethan Winters wants to be, everything that many other Resident Evil characters want to be. Civilian with no superhuman training and superpowered kicks. Just a civilian who has some combat training and is looking for her brother. and wants to find out what happened. Number one, to no one's surprise and kind of spoiler alert, is the most wasted Resident Evil character with the wasted potential, Jill Valentine. Such an immense character development from 1 to 3 to 5. And then that gives even more progression because as we saw in Dead Island, she's very angry for what happened to her. And Capcom gave us nothing! I think Jill, first of all, is my favorite character in the whole world because Resident Evil 3 was the first Resident Evil game that I ever played back in the 2000s. I was a bit behind. But as well, she's wasted. Nothing that Capcom did with her later, which was Revelations and everything was said before, you know, she became this. There is only some development in Death Island, which is, in my opinion, literally fan service for us Jill fans. It's not a great movie, just a fan service movie. I like it, but still, come on. Overall, I think she's the best. She is next to perfect when it comes to being a protagonist. She is well trained. She is cool. She has some personality. She's not your typical action hero. There's a lot of plot armor going, of course, but at the same time, she has all of the potentials to be a great character and to give great stories. But we get nothing. Especially post Resident Evil 5, I think her stories would have been immensely powerful and interesting. That would be it. Thank you all for watching. As I'm a very small channel, share, subscribe, follow, subscribe, like, or even a dislike, comment would mean a lot to me. Take care and stay safe. Bye.